Hey guys, I'm Alec,
I'm Zach.
and we are Aztec Games. We're doing a little bit of an introduction today, just so you guys get to know who we are, and we hope to begin the series and continue to put out content for you, and hopefully get some laughs, go over some cool cards, go over some funny stories. Let's get into it. All right, so a little bit about us and kind of our story and how we started out. I was the one that originally kind of got things rolling for us. I've been collecting Magic since I was a little kid, and I've played for a large portion of my life. And so I've always just had, as I'm sure most of us have, just dozens of thousands of loose cards in shoe boxes and just really wherever. And I had just had my kid, and I was trying to think of ways that I could make some extra money and things like that. And just like every trading card enthusiast, I thought, well, hey, I'll try and sell my cards and see what we can make happen. So that's where I started. I originally started on TCG Player, and I just started selling off cards that I had. I went through all of my bulk and was pulling out cards that had any kind of value. And I just filtered through them and just started listing them on TCG Player. Started off at the 100 card limit and just started slowly selling through stuff. I think I sold almost all of my bulk for about a penny, which that was a brutal lesson in and of itself. But that was kind of where I started. And then me and Zach used to work together at the same job. And Zach would come in and out of our branch pretty frequently. He was kind of a floater, so he would show up every now and then. And we both had a interest and passion for cards. And he saw me with a huge wad of envelopes one day, and he kind of started asking about it, like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And so we talked about it a little bit, and I kind of explained, like, I'm selling cards, and that was kind of where the whole journey really started to kick off for us. And we talked about it a little bit more, and I kind of explained my process and my, ideas of how to make it profitable and make it work. And I'm not a super, super big numbers guy, and luckily Zach is. And so he kind of picked apart what I told him, and he just dove right in and started telling me all about my inefficiencies and all the places I could could save money and make more money. And so we started talking a little bit more, and I started bouncing some ideas off him, and then we kind of looked at it with each other, and we're just like, why don't we just do this together? So that was kind of where it all started. So just like so many other people, we started selling on TCG Player, and that was really the only platform we sold on. And so we just kind of began to grow our account. We started the journey of leveling up our seller level, and that was there was a lot of learning there. As I'm sure anyone who's gone through it can tell you, you're just kind of shooting in the dark. And just like a lot of people, we were going on YouTube and watching YouTube videos and trying to learn a little bit more about ways that we could do better and different things like that. And again, I think at that time we were still selling bulk penny cards. And that was just brutal because we were getting gigantic orders of like 300 cards, and they were paying like less than a
It's
couple
like 84
bucks.
cents of like shipping, super, super cheap.
It was
and you have to
brutal.
ship out $5 just to get it out.
Yeah.
Big learning experience for us, for sure.
Yeah, so that was pretty brutal. And then early on, Zach decided to make the dive into Pokemon because we talked about it a little bit more, and I could tell, and I think I may have just gotten lucky from a lot of the pulls that I'd gotten over the years, and even somewhat recently when we started at the time. And I had pulled just great cards out of these packs, and this was right around the time that Crown Zenith was really popping off. And so I did really well. And I kind of told Zach about it, and I was like, dude, Pokemon is just killing it. And so Zach bought a, what was it? What
It was a
box?
Sword and Shield booster box. It's from the original Sword and Shield.
That's right.
And at the time, it was going for $280 on the marketplace. And so after like taxes and everything, it was $300. And Alec, do you remember how much value I pulled out of that box?
We did. We pulled $0 approximately.
Okay, it was $60, but
Okay.
it might as well have been zero. I mean, if we're just rounding down, it would have been zero.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was brutal. It wasn't good. And we learned a little bit more about Pokemon and the market in Pokemon. And then I believe wasn't there another box that we got that was fake? Or
It was
cards?
yeah, it was Fusion Strikes.
Fusion Strike.
Specifically, yeah. I went on eBay and I was just looking for I wasn't like looking for crazy deals, but just like a decent deal at Marketplace. Found this guy, and I should have gotten the red flags immediately, like probably less than like 200 sales. He was selling like all different odds and ends, which is fine because like a lot of people do that. I got this box from him, and what it was all the top pulls. They were resealed packs. They were fake cards on the big pulls, but all like the bulk and stuff was real. And I found out the hard way by going to a card shop and giving it to the guy. He'd be like, "How much can you give me this?" And within 2 seconds, he was like, "That's fake." And I was just heartbroken. And I also bought 2 other Fusion Strikes boxes at the time, and those cards were real. I pulled the Celebi card out of Fusion Strikes.
That's right.
And great card, but really big learning experience for me on the whole process. We did get a refund.
We did.
Thank God. We got a refund. The guy gave up and was just like, "Here's your money back." I was like, "Dude, you bought this off Alibaba for $12. I better get my money back." Like, seriously.
Yeah, that was a brutal one. That was, again, another learning experience that luckily didn't cost us as we got our money back on it. But if we wouldn't have, that would have been not a fun learning experience. So yeah, that was kind of our breakout point, I feel like, and that was where we started kind of buckling in and just trying to see where we could find the best deals online. And that was really Zach doing the heavy lifting on that. And Zach was just scouring the internet for days and just finding any deal that we could get that was, verifiably good product, had good reviews, and there was enough of a margin that we could, obviously make money. Which was hard, I mean, and anyone that's getting into us now, you'll experience the same thing where it just feels like you're fighting an uphill battle because there's just not a lot of product out there that you can make money on. And especially if you're not getting distribution and things like that, and it really comes down to being super vigilant and looking every single day and getting lucky, really. And I think we did, and again, I attribute all that to Zach. Zach was really the powerhouse on that end and doing all that. And so as we got more product and we started doing a little bit more, obviously we went up to the seller levels until the point we got to level 4 on TCG Player, which allowed us to have a bigger inventory and kind of broaden our options as far as things that we could do. So that was when we started talking about sealed product. We had realized that there was definitely more opportunity, at least in our eyes, to sell sealed product. But again, sealed product is more expensive. There's less opportunity to buy it at a reasonable amount for, to make money. And we had gone through eBay, we were scrolling on TCG Player, really anywhere we could find it. Obscure websites that, we were checking on Reddit and like, hey, has anyone bought from here? And it was just really crazy. And so the journey into sealed was really kind of where our business started to form a lot more. And that was when we decided to make the jump and try and get distribution. So that was where, for us at least, the information that we were able to get online basically cut off entirely. There wasn't anyone that we could find online that was able to tell us, like, where do you start? Who are the distributors? The basics, the things that anyone looking into distribution quickly finds out there's not a lot of info out there about it. And the world of distribution is really weird. there's a lot of things you can't talk about. There's a lot of things that, you have to kind of jump through certain hoops to prove that you can do X, Y, or Z. And then once you prove you can do X, Y, or Z, then like they work with you. So there's a lot of stuff like that that we just didn't know. And so we got our spot, and we went through the process of getting our business license, which that in and of itself was ridiculous. The city that we were in was just miserable to work with. It was just so brutal and terrible experience. It was peak government employee type things that we were
No
dealing
rush in their body.
with. Nope. Weeks without answers.
And they would forget everything that we were telling them, and they would have to remind them.
Yep.
Repeat that 2 more times.
There were several conversations that
yeah.
I remember having with our person that we were working with, that we weren't a pawn shop. that was the whole thing.
We're not selling clothes, I promise.
Yeah, it was like a whole thing where she's like, well, you're selling reused stuff. And I was like, no, like we're selling sealed product.
It's like a collectible store.
Yeah, it's collections, and most of what we're going to be selling is straight from our distributors. And she just couldn't. It was like she couldn't wrap her mind around the concept of like, no, we're not buying, like we're not going to estate sales and buying a set of golf clubs or furniture and then flipping it online. It's like, no, that's not what we're doing at all.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was a whole that was a whole journey that really sucked. That was not fun. And we finally initially we got declined. We got declined
initially, and that was a big heartbreaker.
Yeah, and we thought that's where the journey was going to end. So I reached back out to them, and I escalated the situation a little bit and kind of explained what exactly it was, because they declined us because of our classification of the business was incorrect, which wasn't incorrect. They were incorrect in their assumption of what the business was. And so luckily, with some finesse and arguing and long phone calls, we got it fixed, and we eventually got our business license approved, and that was really the last thing that we were waiting on to get distribution. And then we finally got distribution through probably, I would assume, the biggest distributor in the U.S. I think.
Probably the west side of the U.S. for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got linked up with them, and prior to that, I had actually called them before we had even started like looking for a physical location and different things like that. And I spoke with the rep there, and she was making us some crazy offers. Like she was telling us like, oh, you're gonna be able to buy product at like 50% of market value, like all this stuff.
They definitely sold us a number that we were so excited
to
go.
And so we went into everything with the expectation of we're absolutely gonna get that number. And once we finally got distribution and we met our rep and everything, that was not the case at all. And we found out that there's a whole slew of things, and there's a lot of rules, and there's a lot of things you can and can't do, and it's very restricted. And I'm honestly really shocked at how, well, now I understand why so many people choose not to have a physical storefront. And I think a big reason for it is distribution personally. It's an uphill battle, to say the least. It's like, to be totally honest, your spend out the gate has to be high. You have to have the ability to access money. And if you don't, I mean, you're not going to get a lot.
Oh yeah, if you have like $2,000, this is not for you.
No,
or like I would even say like less than 10K.
Yeah.
It's just the margins are just not there to be able to say I'm gonna get a rent for $2,000 a month.
Yep.
And be able to pay the rent, pay my utilities, and pay myself.
Yep.
It's just impossible.
And again, the prices that we were initially told about from a rep was not accurate at all. The margins were better than what we were getting searching online and
I'd
going
say better.
there.
Yeah.
But definitely not as good as we thought. And that wasn't even really the big issue. The big issue, and an issue that we're still running into, is allocation. And the distributors will only give you certain product and a certain amount of specialty product like things like the collector booster boxes and whatnot, and that's 100% based upon your spend. And they evaluate it within a 6-month period. So when you're starting out, obviously you have no spend or very little spend, so you get pretty much no allocation. If I remember right, I think like the first time we got collector booster boxes was like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah,
it was like
it was
nothing.
Not a lot. Yeah, nothing.
And so that was a whole thing that we then had to adjust and reevaluate how we were going to approach the business and how, and try and find where we're going to be able to make the most opportunities. And then that was where, again, we were selling purely on TCG Player. This is where the real issue came into, or this is where we really came into our biggest hurdle at that point, which was our margins. We had distribution, we had the product, we had an established seller profile, we had reviews, we were 100% reviewed, we had no issues, things were going really good. I was selling on, I created our business account on TCG Players, which is Aztec Games, and then we had a secondary account that we were selling on to try and really make sure we were getting as much reach as we possibly could. And so anyone who's sold on TCG Player for any amount of time knows that the fees can be pretty intense. And our secondary account became a direct account. And we were really excited about direct, and direct has been really great for us. We've had a lot of great opportunity through direct, but what we didn't really know until we got to the point where we could do direct was how much bigger that fee becomes. And we had to really sit down and evaluate whether we wanted to progress beyond a pro account on TCG Player, or if we wanted the Aztec Games account to go into direct with the other account also direct. And it just didn't make sense for us. The percentage that they would have taken out across the board would have really taken any profit that we could have gotten out of our product.
Yeah.
So we had to evaluate what we wanted to do. What was our game plan? What things could we do to get more reach, to get the product out there with paying the lowest amount of fees or whatever? And so the obvious answer for us was to build out our own website. And so that journey began, and that was a whole other part of our business. And it took a long time. My background's in marketing and digital marketing, and so luckily I had some experience building out a site, but quickly I realized my experience was very minimal in what was required to build a website in a way that was good and looked fresh and clean and was optimized. And so I really just kind of gritted my teeth through all of that, and it was brutal. I don't know a lot of code, and so that became very apparent. And so to get certain things to function the way that I envisioned them and that we wanted them to work required some coding. And again, I'm not a coder. And so I really relied heavily on people that I knew that luckily are great at coding. And I asked a lot of questions. I Googled a ton of stuff. YouTube was my best friend again. And ChatGPT, funny enough, actually helped me out tremendously. It helped us solve a big problem that we had where we had a weird loop with our Wilds of Eldraine button. And it just led to this thing where I don't know what I had done wrong, but it had caused this huge problem with the entire website. And I did everything I could. I looked up every YouTube video I could, nothing.
It was like a month or two of you trying to figure it out.
It was brutal.
And eventually Alec admitted defeat.
I did. I was like...
You admitted defeat, and I totally get it.
I did, and I even told Zach, I was like, I don't know, man, maybe we look and just pay someone to build it, because I can't.
Just make sure it's like professionally done. And
yeah. And so it led into a whole conversation about, well, is it going to be worth it? It's a lot of money. Web designers aren't cheap, and so I decided to give it one more crack after about a month of just not even thinking about it, not even looking at it. And so I came back to it and came in with a new determination of like, okay, we got to make this work. So I utilized every last resource I could, and we got it fixed, and we got the website where we wanted it. Mm-hmm. And that was the beginning of us really starting to take off. And at this point, we're probably a year into the business.
A year into it. Yep.
And so again, we we think we were barely profitable. Like what I think
Oh,
at
yeah.
the time we went over it, and it was like we had made like maybe $200 or
Yeah,
something.
it was actually $1,000.
yeah, $1,000.
And we were like, ooh, at least we're not negative, you know, at least we're not losing money. But we were like, there's so much more opportunity elsewhere if we just take advantage of the website. So have people buy it from us directly.
Yes, and kind of kick out the middleman. And so that was where our next journey began, and that was getting enough product, which again we're still running into that issue. But getting enough product to supply the website, also enough product to put on TCG Player, also have enough singles on our TCG account to keep things rolling on there, and then also have enough product and singles for our direct account, which that once we kind of got rolling and figuring out direct, I mean Zach was really our guy on the direct side, and him and his fiance were just knocking stuff out. I mean, they were doing 4-hour days every day and just loading up RIs.
Well, that was, before we got direct, that was when it was like every day for an hour.
Yeah.
No, it was like an hour and a half. Because imagine 20, 25 paper orders you have to print out, you have to find the card, pack the card, you know, the whole process, just get it loaded, stamp on, the whole thing. RIs, though, take approximately about 2 hours, depending on the size of the RI. Yeah. We're definitely no big fish in the world, but the biggest RI I think I ever had was like 2,200 cards.
Jeez.
Imagine that. Just like imagine you put them in team bags and you have to like order them out, number them out, get the box, ship it out.
And it's brutal because at the time too, and not just on the direct side, but just in general, we were trying to figure out an organization system as we were getting these RIs. And so you're doing 4 different things at the one time, and it just makes things drag out so much longer. And it's a lot more than we, I think, initially expected it to be. And so, yeah, and it was, and we'll probably create another video talking maybe about our experience with direct a little bit more and kind of go into more details about what that looks like. But yeah, it was, it helped us out, but it added additional pain points that we didn't know we were going to run into, and so that was a big thing. And then just recently, as we kind of grew out the website, we were building product. We were utilizing the way that we were driving sales to our website was in all of our TCG Player orders. We would put a business card with our logo and everything on there, and then it had a QR code that was just let people know, hey, you know, we're here, check us out. And so we got pretty decent traffic from that. I think for the first couple months, we got like a total of like 20 people that checked us out. No one put anything in a cart. No one really bought from us at all.
Very slow.
It was very slow, and it kind of was a little discouraging. But we kept at it, you know, and we kept throwing those in there. And then we started seeing the traffic kind of grow a little bit more and keep going. And finally, we kind of we got this weird surge out of nowhere on the website. And we started seeing that people were actually looking at it, and which was good. And we were kind of, you know, a little bit more optimistic about it. And so eventually we started to get a little bit more serious about the website and put a little bit more effort into it. And it has been a really awesome experience for us to see pretty much all of that journey come into this moment of, okay, now we're able to finally sell on our website. We're finally able to maximize the amount of money that we're making on our product, and it's the biggest margins that we've had. Mm-hmm. And so obviously through in-person sales, through our online sales, the business really started to kind of take off from there, and it's just continued to grow. And now we just recently had our first experience doing an in-person, we did like a convention at our local mall. There's a really cool hobby shop that's there. They sell collectible toys called Platinum Toys. Super cool, check them out. But they do a thing, they do it I think 2 or 3 times a year, where they have a huge space in the mall that's just empty space, and they let us and other vendors come through and just sell products. And it was a Saturday and Sunday that we did it, and that we went into it not really sure we'd been watching some, again, more stuff on YouTube, and we saw that people were doing okay. And, we wanted to give it a shot to see if, we could do it. And because at this point, we had quite a bit of product that we'd been sitting on for a while. So it's like, okay, this might be a good opportunity for us to really be able to kind of move that product, And so we went into it with the expectation of we were probably going to lose money, but this is going to be a really good learning experience for us as far as what does things outside of the shop, what does that look like? What do these shows look like? Are they actually profitable? Because I'm sure as most people have, they've watched those YouTube channels where people are going out to conventions and they're selling slabs for thousands of dollars and things like that. And we didn't have any of that. And we just had a lot of sealed product.
A lot of sealed products.
And a lot of bulk. And
it was mainly Magic the Gathering.
It was
sealed specifically.
It was probably about 90% Magic the Gathering. We'd managed to get some Pokemon stock prior to the sale, or prior to the convention. And we went into it expecting to lose money. But we just wanted to give it a shot and see, is this an opportunity, is this an additional opportunity that we have to make some additional money. And obviously with in-store or in-person purchases like this, and like within a store, you can utilize cash, and that takes away sales tax, that takes away, shipping costs. There's obviously no middleman as far as processing fees and things like that. So, the appeal of it is there. And so we went into it ready to go. We got 2 tables in a pretty good spot, I think. And it kicked off really strong. We got a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people checking us out. But what we quickly discovered was Pokemon in person is phenomenal.
Way better than Magic. Holy moly.
Way better in person. And we did sell a good chunk of Magic, way more than I think we were expecting.
I think so. After that first day, we barely sold any Magic.
Yeah.
It was like day 2 that it was actually like a little bit better.
Yep.
And we were like, okay, there is some demand for
Yes.
Magic. But Pokemon, everyone was asking, do you have 151?
Yeah.
And we were like, sorry.
No. We sold all of it when everyone else did.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But yeah, and so it was that was quite the eye-opening experience. I remember after the first night, me and Zach were chatting about it, and it was like, dude, Pokemon is killing it. Because up to this point, in the shop and online, it's like Magic is all we sold, and that's all we've ever sold. And our volume on Magic has always been pretty good. It's always been consistent for the most part. And we have a really good idea as far as, that's what we've been selling up to this point. And so it's like, we knew where our margins were on everything. We calculated everything with our TCG player fees included, so we had a really solid idea of what was going to move. We knew, with my background, I'm a player, I play Magic. And so, I kind of would look at the sets as they were coming out and be like, okay, how is this going to affect the meta? Obviously, Commander up until very recent has really been the big push from Wizards of the Coast. And so we really were looking at all those different things, and we had a really locked down understanding, I think, of the market and how we could capitalize it. So all of a sudden, all of that comes into question, and all of a sudden everything that we know is not what we experienced as far as like the convention side of things. And quickly Pokemon was very apparently the big thing, and so we had a lot of different Pokemon product that we got, and we moved through on the first day, and we were doing a giveaway for an ETB, which was also really good. That helped us out quite a bit. And it was a Poke-Center, I think it was a Scarlet Violet ETB. It was a Poke-Center Scarlet Violet ETB, and that got quite a bit of action. We got a lot of people where they just had to make a purchase over a certain amount, and they would be entered to win. And it was
did
awesome.
Really well.
Yeah, it was really awesome to see people going for it. And obviously that translated into sales for us. And so second day came around, and it was a lot slower, I think, than we initially were expecting. I was actually expecting Sunday to be a lot busier. So the first part of the day was really slow. The morning kind of we didn't get a lot of people, and Eventually, I would say probably around like what, like 1 or 2.
It was like say noon.
Yeah,
To like 1.
right around. So to kind of wrap up on the convention, basically what we learned was that that Pokemon was really the way to go, and that was a huge learning experience because we don't really have a whole ton of experience in Pokemon. So it was taking a big jump into something that we didn't really know too much about, and but we're glad that we learned and that it's doing well. And I think with the current market shift that's happening, I don't think it could have been a better time for us to really get in it with, now that we're established and we've got distribution and, we have a couple different things helping us out. So that's really been, I think, the biggest thing that we learned from it. But yeah, our prep, we just kind of jumped right into it and we gave it a shot. And then come Sunday night, I believe we ended up being profitable on that, correct?
We did a whole $98.
So not too bad for your first time and expecting to lose money, which I'm super grateful for because that accounts our cost of our booth. That accounts, for the certain product that we purchased for that specific event that we didn't already have. And there was a guy next to us who, for the entire 2 days, made $15.
Sold $15.
Yeah,
not
sold
profit.
$15, yeah.
Sold $15.
Didn't make his table back. So that's that's a rough one, and that was about where we expected to be.
Yep.
And I'm really grateful that we weren't. And again, it was just a great learning experience, learning opportunity for us, and just we're excited for the next one. So we've decided that we want to continue to kind of push into more shows and do more things, and just continue to get our name out, both locally and maybe throughout the country. We're debating going down to Vegas later this year or later into next year.
Yeah, there's a show, I think, April 4th and 5th. Something, the card show, the front row card show. Really popular. I'd like to get into that one.
Yep.
We booked a show in August of next year.
Yes.
Which in Oregon, right?
Ogden.
Ogden?
Ogden.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So we got that all figured out. And then at the convention, we actually met Jake from Jar Chomp Collections. He was there, and that was super cool meeting him. We had no idea that he had a big online following.
No idea.
Big YouTube channel. So that was really cool. And so we've chatted with him a little bit, and it's just been really cool. And he's been making a lot of really great content. And we've actually learned quite a bit, even just recently, about kind of the Pokemon market and how we want to try and approach certain things. So that was really cool. The Bulbasaur was also there, which was really funny. I've seen his stuff before, so that was kind of a trip to see him show up at the show that show of all places.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. The community of guys that trade Pokemon and they sell, and that's what they do, was really awesome. We made a lot of really great connections on that show, and they plugged us into a lot of great different, Facebook groups and things, and just kind of pointed us in the right direction. And we kind of picked their brains for a little bit to learn, hey, how do you guys do this full time? How are you guys, approaching this problem that we're having? And it was really cool. And I would love to do more stuff with them. And hopefully, maybe we could get them on here and chat with them a little bit and just continue to, educate ourselves. And, we acknowledge that we don't know a ton, but, and we're always willing to learn and learn from those that are doing what we want to do. So that was really cool. That was a really great experience. Was there anything that you felt was a big takeaway from the show?
Oh man, just the funny story that we had.
Oh, that's right.
Can't forget to talk about it.
So there was another vendor that was there. I believe it was their first time at a show as well. And I did a trade with him for a sealed card, or a graded card, excuse me. And I had a card that I wanted to trade with him, and then I paid him a cash difference for a Gem Mint 10. It was from the tag team set, and so we're talking, and he's kind of telling me I'll point you in the right direction for this, and it was cool, great. And then he goes, hey, I want to help you out, you know, I kind of want to do a favor for you essentially. And we were both like, oh, okay, like what's going on? So he hands us, it's in a top loader. He hands us a booster pack from, it was,
I think Chaldeum?
yeah, Kaldheim.
Kaldheim.
It was from Kaldheim.
It was a draft booster too.
Yeah, it was a draft booster, and he goes, here, like you can have this. And we were like, oh, okay, thanks. Like,
we were super grateful.
yeah, I was like, all right, cool. And to be fair, this guy, he only had Pokemon in his display. Like he was only there for Saturday. And so, or no, sorry, for Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
And so he gave it to us, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, that was a cool gesture. So at the end of the show, me and Zach are like, hey, let's crack open the pack, you know, let's see what we get. It's just a draft booster.
And by the way, it looks good.
Looks great.
Looks great. Why would you even question anything about this pack?
No.
You never would.
And so we opened it, and it turns out so did he. And the pack was already opened, and I'm pretty sure sifted through.
Like not even resealed, no effort, just
it was ripped
straight
right open
too.
And so that was pretty funny.
There was no value in that pack, negative value actually.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Hence why we got it.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty funny because it was just, he was like, you would have thought he gave us a Lord of the Rings collector, like holiday collector edition, like box essentially, you know, like here's a really big favor. Like, way to get started.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
Yeah, and it was just an opened up draft booster pack.
With nothing, like no value, nothing
I don't
in
even
it.
think there was rares. I'm pretty sure he cleared the rares out of it even. So it was just like commons.
It was just commons and uncommons.
It was
and I was just
brutal.
like, why?
It was brutal. It was
Is that like an initiation thing? Like,
I don't know. It was.
You do a show, here's this free thing that's not worth anything. We were left with question marks more than ever. We were still confused to this day.
It was like, is this a diss or like what?
Was he like hoping we were gonna sell it and maybe get in trouble? I don't know.
Oh, and I guess that's another thing too to kind of, we could probably go more in detail in another episode, but we found out there's a lot of like unspoken rules amongst the community of sellers.
Yeah, the vendors.
Yeah, that was something that we hadn't really expected. I mean, and some of it made sense, but a lot of it was like kind of weird. Like, you don't ask for this or that, or you don't, you know, say this or that, or do, you know, take something that I gave you and then flip it for a million times more. Like, it was all kind of weird, and I don't know, it's just different. It's a different perspective. I feel like the Magic community is a lot different. I don't feel like it's, there's some similarities, but just like, I feel like the overall culture of selling Pokemon is completely different than selling Magic.
It is.
And I would say, and it's mostly positive, I think. I think selling Magic gets a little grimy when it comes down to like singles. I think like people that go after graded cards or single cards, I just feel like that market's a little bit more grimy, and just there's a lot more people that want to screw you than help you, I feel like. And whereas with Pokemon, at least my general vibe of it was, everyone there was super open to talk with us about what they were doing and things that they were doing that was working. And I don't know, it was just a different vibe, and it was cool. But I'm glad that we got to experience that. But yeah, so that's pretty much where we're at now. And so we're continuing to grow, and we're hoping to continue to do more and more, both locally and online. So hence this first video that we're doing, just so that people kind of know who they're buying from, you know, and what our experience is. And we want to be able to kind of do for others what we had, which was, you know, get the information online and hopefully be able to, you know, put some information out there that's not out there already, and just let people know, you know, hey, this is our process. It may not work for you. It may, you know, whatever, but we at least want to kind of share that information that we learned through our last little bit in business, and hopefully help others kind of come into this business and this world. And I expect, with the way that the market's kind of changing right now, I expect that there's a lot of people that are going to try and get into it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot more work than I think most people think it is.
It's a lot of work.
But it's great. Yeah. I mean, really, it's a blast, and just be prepared for a lot of heartbreak. Be prepared for a lot of challenges that you probably wouldn't think would come with this. It really pushes you to your limits as far as your hobby turned into a business. That's something, at least for myself, that I find where there are days where we get an order and I print off that order slip for TCG Player, and I just dread putting it together. I do not want to pack an order. I don't want to ship stuff out. And so just making sure that you're ready to commit to that, especially if you want to get serious about it and do it on the scale that, and we're small fries, realistically. We're not nearly on the level of so many others. And so just like our short time in business and the small scale that we're on is still very stressful, and there's a lot of challenges that come with it, and you just have to always be on the prowl. And if you're and luckily for me, I'm not doing this alone. I have Zach to help me, and he's great with finding those deals and finding product that's going to work for us, and being able to decipher, hey, this is a great online product, this is a great in-store product, this is a great convention product. And being able to find that and master that is, I think, the biggest thing that we've had to learn, and just make sure that we're continuing to educate ourselves and be willing to experiment, be willing to try. And again, I think you have to kind of go into it expecting to lose money, because if you go into every single thing in this industry expecting to make tons of cash, you're going to be sorely disappointed. It's just
not a lot of money.
No, it's
not in everything. No.
No, and there's some stuff where you can make great profit. There's a lot of money to be made with certain things, but again, just like Zach said, it's just not a lot of money in general. You have to really wheel and deal and find the best deal where you can, and
have the consistency, really.
Yeah.
You have to be so consistent with trying to find the deals.
Yep. And that turns into a full-time thing, me and Zach are not working together anymore, and so I'm over at my office and he's over at his, and we're constantly texting and calling, and then at the end of the day, we're sitting on Discord trying to figure out what's the next steps. Where do we get more product? How do we get more allocation?
How do we sell this product?
Exactly. Yeah. How do we get rid of the product we've been sitting on forever? And so it's a lot more work than I think people think it is, and it looks really fun, and it is.
There's a lot of benefits.
Yeah, it's a blast, and you get to deal with awesome product, meet really cool people, and all that, and all the things that we love about the trading card world are all there. But man, it's different behind the lens of trying to make money with it, like make actual legitimate money, and do it in a way that is scalable, and it's a lot of work. So we're going to continue to try and do more, both in person again and in online. We want to continue to make content for you. We're hoping that going forward we kind of have a little bit more fun with the channel. We want to do a mixture of some humorous things, maybe talking about some hot takes that Zach has, like his terrible taste in food sometimes.
Oh, it's just not true.
And go over some card stuff, talk about what's going on in the market, and do some cracking some packs, different things like that, and just showcasing some products. So we're really excited for the future, and we hope that you guys join us and continue to grow with us, and hopefully we can offer you some cool products that you enjoy playing with, collecting, whatever it is. So check us out online. Everything will be in the description. And hit us up on social media, hit us up on YouTube, whatever. Let us know. We're always looking to make a deal. We're always looking for more product. If you have something that you want to trade, or something you want to sell, we're always looking and always interested. So. And
we're definitely open to offers.
Yeah.
Haggle.
Yep.
Talk to us.
Haggle us. We just like haggling. So
we'll try to see if we can get a deal to happen.
Yep. So I think that's it for now, and we look forward again to making more content, and we'll see you guys later.